The National Electrical Code, or NEC, does address the installation of receptacles in closets. The NEC generally prohibits receptacles in closed closets to prevent the use of high-wattage appliances that could pose a fire hazard. Specifically, the NEC restricts the installation of luminaires, or light fixtures, in closed closets based on specific parameters to minimize the risk of fire from contact with combustible materials. The rules depend on the type of luminaire, its location within the closet, and the available clearance. Firstly, surface-mounted incandescent or LED luminaires with completely enclosed globes, or recessed incandescent or LED luminaires with a lens or similar cover are permitted in closed closets provided they maintain a minimum clearance of 12 inches from the closet storage space. This clearance helps prevent clothing or other stored items from coming into direct contact with the hot surface of the luminaire. Secondly, surface-mounted fluorescent luminaires are allowed in closed closets if they have a minimum clearance of 6 inches from the closet's storage space. This reduced clearance is permitted because fluorescent luminaires generally operate at low temperatures compared to incandescent luminaires. Thirdly, pendant luminaires or lamp holders are completely prohibited in closed closets. This restriction is due to the increased risk of contact with combustible materials, as pendant luminaires are more likely to swing or be positioned closer to stored items. In addition to these clearance requirements, the NEC also mandates that any luminaire installed in a closed closet must be installed in such a way that it minimizes the risk of contact with stored items. This includes ensuring that the luminaire is securely mounted and that any exposed wiring is properly protected. The NEC further clarifies that these rules apply to all types of closets, including those in residential, commercial, and industrial settings. The purpose of these regulations is to prevent fires caused by luminaires igniting clothing or other combustible materials stored in the closet. The specific sections of the NEC that address these requirements are found in Article 410.16c, which covers luminaires in closed closets and storage spaces. It is crucial for electricians, contractors, and homeowners to adhere to these regulations to ensure the safety of the electrical installation and prevent potential fire hazards. When installing or modifying lighting in closets, always consult the latest edition of the NEC and local electrical codes to ensure compliance. Local jurisdictions may have additional requirements or amendments to the NEC that must be followed. Furthermore, it's important to consider the type of closet and its intended use when planning the lighting installation. For example, a small linen closet may have different requirements compared to a large walk-in closet. In summary, while certain types of luminaires are permitted in closed closets under specific conditions, the NEC places strict limitations on their installation to minimize the risk of fire. Always follow the NEC guidelines and local electrical codes to ensure a safe and compliant installation. Regarding receptacles, the NEC generally prohibits them in closed closets to avoid the use of appliances that could cause fire hazards. The primary concern is preventing the use of devices that generate heat, such as hair dryers, clothes irons, or space heaters, which could ignite flammable materials stored in the closet. The specific prohibition of receptacles in closets is not always explicitly stated in a single section of the NEC but is inferred from the overall intent and safety regulations. Article 210 of the NEC deals with branch circuits and outlets and provides general requirements for receptacle placement. While it doesn't specifically say no receptacles in closets, the NEC emphasis on safety and preventing fire hazards leads to this conclusion. Local codes and interpretations often reinforce this prohibition. The rationale behind this restriction is that closets are typically small, enclosed spaces where flammable materials like clothing, linens, and other stored items are in close proximity. Introducing a heat-producing appliance into such an environment significantly increases the risk of fire. For example, if a clothes iron is left on accidentally in a closet, it could easily ignite nearby clothing. Additionally, the limited space in a closet can make it difficult to safely use and store electrical appliances. Cords can become tangled, and there may not be enough room to keep flammable materials away from the heat source. It's also worth noting that the NEC requires receptacles to be readily accessible, meaning they should not be obstructed or difficult to reach. Closets, especially those with cluttered storage, may not meet this requirement. While the NEC doesn't explicitly forbid receptacles in all types of closets, the prohibition is generally understood to apply to clothes closets and similar storage spaces where flammable materials are present. Other types of closets, such as those used for electrical equipment or mechanical systems, may have different requirements. In these cases, receptacles may be necessary for servicing the equipment, but they must be installed in accordance with the NEC safety regulations. When designing electrical installations, it's crucial to consider the intended use of each space and the potential hazards associated with electrical appliances. Avoiding receptacles in closed closets is a simple yet effective way to reduce the risk of fire and ensure the safety of the building occupants. If a receptacle is deemed necessary in a closet for a specific purpose, it's essential to consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that it's installed in compliance with the NEC and local codes. This may involve using a ground fault circuit interrupter or GFCI receptacle to protect against electrical shock or taking other precautions to minimize the risk of fire. In summary, while the NEC may not explicitly state that receptacles are prohibited in closets, the overall intent of the code and safety regulations leads to this conclusion. Avoiding receptacles in closed closets is a best practice for preventing fire hazards and ensuring electrical safety. Always consult the latest edition of the NEC and local codes when designing and installing electrical systems. Remember that local jurisdictions may have additional requirements or interpretations that must be followed. By adhering to these guidelines, you can help create a safer environment for building occupants.